like restarting the conversation. But yeah.
No, we'll do it.
Yeah. Well, Gordo, welcome to the potty. Thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me.
Anytime. So we met up at Nationals. Was that like a month and a half?
Yeah, back in March, start of March, something like that. Yeah.
How good was that race? Like, how good was the event as a whole?
Yeah, it was. I've never actually been a part of a mountain biking event before.
Okay.
But that was like, yeah, it was just really epic. It was so cool to have all like the adapted riders there and like getting to meet a bunch of people and ride together and I guess compete on the track, which was pretty epic.
Were you kind of surprised by the numbers there, or?
Yeah, I think there was 15 or something, maybe
something
more.
like that, yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah, I only knew maybe 4 or 5 of the people that were there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest were just, new people. It was really cool to see such a good turnout. I know there's more out there riding adapted bikes, so hopefully next year there'll be a bigger crowd and bigger event. Yeah.
Well, Grant wanted to like double it and get like 40 or something out there next year.
Yeah, I mean, probably would. Yeah, there's probably a lot more bowheads out there than I know of. Yeah.
So yeah, for those who don't know, like, who are you and what do you kind of do and what are you about? I guess big broad question.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Gordo. At the moment, just starting a new business and everything, getting back into the workforce after having a spinal cord injury, I guess 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I was a carpenter.
Okay.
Yeah, but didn't really want to get back into the trade industry, I guess, post-accident.
Yeah.
Currently just starting a new business with a good mate of mine called Tasmanian Adventure Support.
Sick.
We're just trying to get people with mobility issues, I guess, out in the wild again.
Yeah.
Which is a big passion of both of ours, really. Targeting adapted riding for the main thing, but also like kayaking and bushwalking, swimming, surfing.
Sick.
Yeah.
So you got like a new boat, like a new thing the other day.
Yeah, new kayak. That's been really cool. So I got a seating system from the States that works really well because I don't have any function kind of below my armpits. So I have this seating system that goes in the kayak and it's got lat supports and everything. So it really supports me. And then I can just get in there and paddle, which is pretty cool. Sick. Yeah. So we're out on Saturday, just recently actually, on the Hoel River down south in Tasmania, where I'm from, where I'm living. Yeah.
That's rad. What was it like getting out on that for the first time?
First time was, a little bit scary again, being out in the water, like, oh yeah, okay, this is cool. I'm not very good at swimming anymore. So, but the boat's really stable and just good to get out. Because I guess I do a lot of riding on the land, which is my like land thing I get to do. And then like to have the kayak now and get to venture out into the water in that, which is pretty epic. So it's just another element to explore, which is cool.
And there's so much to explore down there. Like, it'd be so good for more people in chairs or whatever, just to be able to get out and explore everything.
Yeah, there's some really beautiful stuff, like very close to Hobart as well, where I live. And there's this epic sea cliffs. There's all the rest of it.
How do you go about like discovering where you can go, like with everything, or is it literally just try and see what's happening?
Yeah, like with the kayak or like wheelchair or bike, I guess all of it.
Well, the bike's probably easier because it's got the trail centers, but like with your kayak or your hiking
the
and
kayak's
stuff.
just, I guess, more where it looks cool and like where other people are going, and just in kayaks in general.
So you don't need like a special pier or something like that? You just type it in? Oh, really? That's
and there's no trail forks or anything. Oh, there might be. I don't know. I'm not big in the kayak world, but it's just kind of launch the boat anywhere and go for an explore.
That's way less like limitations to what a bike would have or something.
Yeah. As long as you got good weather.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. True. You don't want to go out on a real windy day and get stuck somewhere.
What kind of brought the business on? Like, was there a certain spark or?
I guess pre-injury, I've just always been in the outdoors, and I was looking at, just before my accident, so I was looking into kind of doing seasonal guiding work as well as carpentry for the summer. And then after my accident, it was just, I think that's just the field I wanted to get back into was the outdoor field for work. And it was like, okay, how can we make that happen? And then there's a company in New Zealand called Making Tracks.
Okay.
And they're an accessible tourism company, and they're really awesome. And I had a chat with the owner of that, who's a quad as well. And he was really motivating. That was when I was at rehab. And then leaving rehab, there's like a business kind of based out of Sydney, like Access Adventures.
Yes.
And that's who I started like riding my mountain bike with, and they do a lot of kind of similar stuff. And then, moving back to Hobart, it was always been a bit of a dream to kind of, since the injury, to kind of get something like that going. And then I, met a business partner, Max, who's just a legend, and he supports me riding quite a lot. And there was this one morning we were waiting to get a key from the council to get into a trail centre. And we both had probably too much coffee, and we just started chatting, and it went from there. It was like, all right, do you want to start a business? Like, all right, cool. So, taking a bit of a process to get to being operational where we are now, which is cool. So, we're both just excited to help people get out and
have a good time.
Because it's like, I need a lot of physical support to go riding or to kayak, or at least to get set up in my equipment, and then have someone supporting me while I'm out in case something goes wrong and I get a bit stuck. And I guess not many people with mobility issues might have access to certain type of support worker, like what Max provides me. So we just want to extend that to the greater community. And
that's a fairly good point, because my partner's a support worker, coordinator, and like my mum worked in a head injury hospital for years. Like, I've been around disability and people in chairs and people that work in that. Never until you said that, there's not many people that are into adventure sports that are doing support work.
No,
or trying to push their clients or help their clients get into that side of things. It's like a real deficit there for sure.
Yeah. And I guess if you're going through support work companies and everything, there's just so much red tape and there's so many rules. Like, as a support worker, like, you're not allowed to do so-and-so and so-and-so. You can't like do these things like, as you saw, we were rocked up and Max is piggybacking me out of the van to get back into my chair. So normal support work companies don't allow their workers to do that, and therefore the clients just don't have access to that type of support, which is hard to come by sometimes.
Which is also like what I find to be like a bit of a catch-22 or like a deficit as well. It's like, if the support worker's not pushing you guys or allowing their client to do certain things, then that's placing more limitations on what they're going to do anyway, right? Like, to me, that doesn't seem it's not right. It's the safest thing to do, insurance and whatever else, right? But placing those limitations is a bit, I don't know, average for me to say. So that's essentially what the business is for, to help people have access to get physical help. To get them out. And then I guess my role is more supporting them in a mentor kind of role if they want someone to come out with them that's also in a chair or whatever, and whether that's in bikes or just out bushwalking or whatever it is. I can provide that kind of like peer support. And then doing all of the computer work and consulting, I guess. Well, it's got to be a huge part of it for a lot of people is, I guess, like someone who's not in the same situation says you can do these things, which is just words. Whereas you're just they're doing it.
Yeah, I can come along and be like, no, it's sweet. Let's go. Let's try and do it.
It's easy. I can do it. Like, it's fine, right? Yeah. That's got to be a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I guess going back to nationals, that seemed to be like a big kind of feeding off each other. I hate that saying, but it was like everyone was showing what they could do. And you could see through the week people were progressing.
Yeah.
Like, it was such a sick thing to watch.
It was really cool. Yeah. Yeah, definitely like for me and having Forrest there who was also in the quad category and like just seeing how much faster he was than me in the race. I was like, okay, yeah, right, next year I need to be pushing it. But Nats was just like awesome for me personally to develop my riding of like, okay, these are the type of trails I can ride. Like, and it just pushed me to start trying harder stuff. Which is pretty cool.
Well, the track did look kind of like, I watched the preview and I'm like, that's cool. I'm used to watching Grant.
Yeah.
Lower my level like way down. And then we went there and we're like, this is sick because he was ripping. And then you guys are like, everyone's progressing and going fast. Like, it was such a good track to watch.
Yeah. That's where it's like, it's hard, seeing Grant ride all this stuff and it's like, well, he's one of the best riders in the world with these bikes. So it's like, if Grant can do it again, but then there's like all of the rest of us that are trying to ride it. And obviously have very different levels of ability and everything else. But it was all cool to still be on the same track and doing it. And each their own. Like for me, I found it, some spots were really steep and I was like kind of ending up hunched over my handlebars trying to slow down, which gets a bit tricky. And then for the others, they probably just ripped down. I don't know. I watched a few of them riding, but there's big range there. But it was cool to all be on the same trail, but still be able to all ride it, which was cool.
And everyone had fun.
Yeah.
Like, that was the sickest thing.
Yeah.
I'm so used to elite categories and stuff where everyone's whinging.
Yeah, right.
And whereas this event was sick because everyone's just stoked. I'm like, this is rad.
Everyone was smiling at the end.
Yeah. What type of clients are you kind of looking to help out? Is it just kind of anyone that wants to come across, or like is there a range of disability? I hate that word. Is there a range of like people you want to help?
I guess we're targeting people with mobility issues, predominantly in wheelchairs, because that's what we know.
Yeah.
But it's open to anyone.
Literally anyone.
Yeah. And it's obviously can be put through the NDIS, and so the funding is there available for people to use. Yeah. But it can be anyone. If you don't have NDIS or whatever, but you need someone to support you, we can help you out. Yeah.
That's rad. It's going to just see in Tasmania, I think we'll just see an explosion of more outdoor activities for everyone. Like, it's going to be rad. And then like in the future, it'd be really cool to host kind of mountain biking camps or trips for people. Adapted mountain biking trips. We can kind of pick them up from the airport and everything's covered: transport, accommodation, food, guiding, take them to all the trail centers, show them where all the good trails are to ride, and have them have rider support and everything as well. But that's more in the future once we've settled and figured it out. But that'd be a really cool thing that we'd like to provide for sure. I know like Mark and Brendan from Taylor Trails, they helped out with the potty for a while, and I went down for one of those trips and it was sick. Like, literally just roll bike out. They pick you up. You don't do anything. You just ride. It's such a good experience. And for you guys, that's going to be even better because, it's a bit of a hassle to travel and stuff. So, I mean, if you've got bowhead batteries just sitting there, it's really sick. So something like that, like for adapted riders and adapted bikes. And then being told like, because there's a lot of trails there to be ridden, but with adapted bikes, it's kind of like you need a lot more information about the trails, I guess, to know, so you don't just go in blind and end up on something where you can't turn around and go back up the hill and you can't continue forward because it's too difficult or something. But especially like, I can imagine Derby would be pretty wild for that. Like, the top of the trails are pretty chill. You come into like those rocky sections, there's no way you're getting back up. Wait a second, there's a big rock slab. I don't know if I can get through that. Do you mind if we talk a little bit about like the pre-chair life? Because I was like, as I said before, flicking through Instagram. Man, some of those mountains and stuff you were climbing was unreal. Like, how did you come into that lifestyle or rock climbing?
Well, early. I guess we can go all the way back. Used to be like semi-professional rugby union player.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was a previous life also. And did that all through since I was 6.
Yeah.
Played rugby union at quite a high level all the way through school, like represented Australian schoolboys and everything. And
right.
And then into after school was playing kind of shoot shield, which is a competition in Sydney.
Okay.
Playing that, and then on my 21st birthday, had a second knee reconstruction.
Yeah, right.
And then I was like, okay, I don't want a third. Like, that's it, retiring. Kind of hung up the boots, so to speak. And then a few months into that recovery, I was just a bit lost and didn't really know what I was doing with my life. And then quit my job, had a little bit of money, and then just started backpacking and went to Southeast Asia and went by myself solo and rode started in Vietnam, and then a friend met me there and we rode from north to south. We bought motorbikes and rode north to south over a month.
Yeah.
And then sold them, and then he went home, and then I continued on through other spots in there, and then came back and then was working to save again to go overseas on another trip, which I went to Sri Lanka, India, and Nepal. So I was in Sri Lanka for a month, and I met some Germans, and we had a tuk-tuk, and we like traversed the country, and I was doing a bunch of surfing and living on beaches over in the east of Sri Lanka, and then flew into India. Was there, messed up my visas, and was there for a month, and then had to figure out. Before I left Sri Lanka, they said I needed a plane ticket out of India so that they would give me a 1 month visa. I thought I was going to get a 6 month, and it didn't work. So I was like, okay, where am I going to go? Like, Nepal sounds cool. Like, I'll fly into India, do a month in India, and then I'll fly to Nepal. Yeah, then flew to Nepal, and then that's like where my love for the mountains started. I always kind of thought I wanted to get into rock climbing, but never really did. And then was in Nepal and doing some trekking in the Himalayas, and it was just the mountains. And I was like, okay, this is like where I want to be. And I wanted to, there's a mountain in the Khumbu region, in the Everest region, called Ama Dablam. Okay. I've got it tattooed on the back of my leg. And that was something I really wanted to get back to climb, like mountaineering. Okay. And I was like, okay, mountaineering, how do I get into it? What do I need to do? And then, so after Nepal, was back in India and bought an Enfield and rode around Rajasthan, the desert, for 3 months by myself, which was, really epic. And then ran out of money and had to call my parents and like, can I have a Christmas present home? You buy me some plane tickets to go home. Flew home, and then, it was always in my mind, like, how can I get back and climb this mountain? Yeah. And that's when rock climbing started, and then just fell into that. And at the time I just started a carpentry apprenticeship, and I didn't want to, I love my parents, but I didn't want to live with them again after that.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
been there.
Yeah. So to get through my carpentry apprenticeship, I bought a van with a trade loan, and then fitted it out and lived in that so I could afford to, I was living in Sydney, so afford to live in Sydney on an apprentice wage. I lived the lifestyle I wanted to live. I lived in my van for a good part of 4 years. Wow. In Sydney, and doing a lot of rock climbing in that time. So every weekend was out in the Blueies or Nowra, all these different places, rock climbing most weekends. And then within the rock climbing kind of world, I guess you're getting, there's like a lot of slacklining and highlining kind of crossovers. Yeah. I picked up slacklining when I was overseas, and then was with the idea of wanting to highline. I was like, I want to like, okay, slacklining's cool, but I want to be like the adrenaline one. I want to be up in the air in between the cliffs. Started just slacklining loads, and while I was doing a lot of rock climbing, and ended up finding a mentor and a friend, and we just went out one day out to Manly, North Head, and rigged a high line with, looking back, it was probably a bit sketchy, a bit dodged without too much knowledge. But we rigged it and it was all fine. That was the first high line that we did. And I ended up being able to walk only like 5 meters of it or something, and let it go. It was pretty different to walking on a slack line in the park.
I can imagine.
Then it was just pursuing that, both those things, and then kind of just highlining fell off, and it was a lot of climbing.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was doing a lot of skydiving actually before
doing
that.
Everything.
I was skydiving. I've done like 50 something jumps. I got my B-rails, everything through skydiving at Maruya.
Yeah.
But then that was too expensive as an apprentice. And then just everything went back to climbing.
Were you like full camping? Sorry to go back a bit. Were you like full camping out and like tenting it, or were you in like rooms and stuff when you were traveling around like India and all that type of thing? Or like how was that setup kind of working?
Sri Lanka was a lot of camping.
Yeah.
And then India and Nepal's like there's tea houses everywhere when you're hiking.
Okay.
And then India was kind of going between hostels and like homestays.
Yeah.
Some pretty random towns out in the middle of nowhere in the desert. And I'm like by myself, and you rock up into town and you just kind of find somewhere to sleep, and you're like, can I stay somewhere? And there's always a million people that want you to stay in their house.
I'm guessing like as a semi-pro rugby player, you kind of got like a path or something like set out for you up until you quit.
Yeah.
Was it a big, was there some sort of mental change or something that led to you wanting to do something where there was no path? Or
totally
was
different. Yeah.
Because to me, like we don't have rugby much here, but it seems like that prep school kind of like everything is set out for you, like everything's dialed, and then you go to Nepal and
very
flip.
Very different. Yeah, very different lives. It was always things I thought maybe I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Was all the other stuff, all the adventuring, all like the different sports, that kind of lifestyle. And then, rugby was just so much of my life leading up to that point. And then the injury. And then definitely within the first 6 months, my mental state was so different. It was everything kind of like a fog cleared from just not being hit in the head constantly.
Yeah, I can feel that.
I had a lot of concussions
right
a lot,
now.
and I was only a little guy that played with a lot of heart, so I used to smash my head around a lot. But there was definitely like a brain fog, like a clearing, and suddenly I just saw the world a little bit differently. I just wasn't being bashed in the head as much. And then just started exploring a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then definitely had a lot of self-development through all that time. And when you're that age, 21, and then just found myself living a very different life to what I had the whole 15 years leading up to that of playing rugby.
And then to go again, I guess like another thing I want to unpack for that is 4 years in a van is a long time.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't the COVID van life, #van life style thing, like 4 years. Were you moving around in the van at the same time, or was it mainly in Sydney?
No, it was Sydney, yeah.
Yeah.
Just living apprentice life as a chippy. Yeah. Just moving around. I had a lot of really good spots. Depending where I was working, I didn't like commuting, and Sydney's horrible for traffic. So I would always kind of be within a 15-minute radius of where I was working. We did a lot of work on the beaches areas or in the inner west and all these different spots. So I had a lot of really good van spots in the city.
But then you could still take like the nomadic style of what you'd learn overseas, and then still on the weekends or whenever just pump out to wherever.
Well, that was the idea back then was wanting to, because when you're traveling, it's just a totally different mindset of and every day is amazing and awesome and everything's beautiful, and I wanted to bring that back to more of a mundane day-to-day life of working. but it was like, how can I capture how I feel when I'm traveling overseas in my working life while I was being an apprentice? And that was through living in a van and being outside and connecting to nature and just having this sense of travel, but not really, because you're just kind of in the one place. But it worked.
You're not going back
it
to the
kept me
same
sane.
door. Yeah.
It kept me sane while I was living in the city. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I only just like kind of really discovered that in the last year myself, because I used to work in bike shops and be same workplace like every day. You go to the same drive, it'd be the same. It's not the same as your van life, but even just working at different work sites every day, it's just such a game changer, because you're just not discovering, but it's just different, and you're kind of learning as you go. It's such a big thing for your head, I think. Yeah,
different kind of mental stimulation, isn't it? And it just keeps things interesting. Yeah, for sure.
What was your van set up at that time? Was it an old place or?
It was an I-load.
Sick.
Just a little I-load. And it was good. Each year as my apprenticeship went on, I'd redo the van. So it was like also like a bit of a showmanship of my work as a carpenter. But it definitely evolved into my last year. Yeah, when it was a pretty good setup, but just pretty basic. I had a little solar panel and a little hand pump for a sink and a pull-out kitchen, and in the back had all the storage where all my adventure gear, I guess, would go. Yeah. But it was pretty basic, and then I adopted my dog Alba, Kelpie, in like my last year of living in my van. So she was there living in the van with me, which was pretty cool. That was a bit different, but that was really fun.
Good dog to have for that though. Yeah. Like perfect dog, really. Yeah. Would have loved it.
She'd wake up and fall asleep out of Oval every day. It was like the best thing ever.
Just go nuts.
Wake up, stick. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that kept her busy.
Perfect. Yeah. Did you do so with your climbing and stuff, was that all just standard climbing? There wasn't any much like free climbing or anything like that, or
no free soloing. No, I always used ropes. Yeah. Free, which is free climbing, but no free soloing. I didn't. Just didn't want to venture too far into that kind of style.
Yeah.
I liked being a bit more safe, I guess. Still, didn't want to come off and not be around anymore.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Because some of those photos and stuff that I've seen from it, they're just amazing. I might even try and fit some in the video, but like the stuff you're climbing is unreal. Back then for sure.
Yeah, that was like a bit later. That was did a few trips. One to Thailand, climbing, really fun. And then later on, after I'd met my partner now, Chloe, we did a big trip to Mongolia, China, and Laos.
Sick.
Yeah, Mongolia was there for 6 weeks. We bought horses and took off by ourselves into the Mongolian wilderness for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I'd never ridden a horse before, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But that was the first stage of our trip. Yeah, we went to Mongolia and did that, and had a really successful horse riding mission, which was fun. Just us 2 and 3 horses in Mongolian wilderness. But then after that, we were in China climbing for a month.
Yeah.
In a few different areas, and there's some amazing places in rural China that there's this amazing climbing, and you might have seen some of them with the big orange like sandstone walls.
Yeah.
A place called Li Ming, which is just pure kind of trad climbing, a lot of cracks. And that was amazing. And then in Laos, we lived in a climbers hostel for a month, and it's just climbing limestone every day, everywhere you look in the valley, which was really cool. But there were some pretty amazing spots. And then once we finished that trip, moving back, we decided to move to Tasmania.
Okay.
Then we got, just before COVID hit, we moved there and got stuck there with COVID. But then the adventure climbing in Tassie, there's some photos of me climbing some sea cliffs, and there's some pretty amazing spots in Tasmania for sure for climbing.
Again, but where do you research a trip to go and find horses in Mongolia? Like, how does that come about? Just to jump back again.
I don't know. I feel like for me, it seems normal to like have a dream to go to Mongolia and buy some horses and go on an adventure. I don't know if it's everyone, but I feel like everyone has a dream to do that. And yeah, I did. And went online and okay, this is what you do. This is how you do it. And, and then just flew there and figured it out. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, most people are hopping over to Bali, but then you're finding that like next level. That's,
Yeah. No, Mongolia is cool. Everyone should go there. It's a really amazing country.
What do you do for like, so was it full bareback horse riding or those saddles and stuff? Or?
No, we had saddles. Yeah, these like Russian, they're not very comfortable.
Yeah.
But I had these Russian saddles and had a pack horse. So we had both a riding horse each and then a pack horse.
Yeah.
Carrying all of our stuff. Because you have to be self-sufficient, I guess, out there.
Yeah.
There's nothing there's no one around.
Yeah. No on the runs or like 7-Elevens or anything
around. No, not out there.
That's unreal. Okay, it's such a wild thing to think about. Like, that just blows my mind. I don't even know what questions to ask because I don't know anything about horse riding in Mongolia.
Yeah.
Like, it's unreal.
You got to go and try it.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely on my list now.
Yeah.
What led to the move from Tassie then, to Tassie from Sydney then?
By then I'd finished my apprenticeship.
Okay.
So that was like, okay, done with Sydney. I lived there. I grew up there, lived there my whole life, and it was just, never. I didn't want to be there. It was just this big city. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in the mountains. I wanted to be with less
contrast,
people.
From what you're doing and what you've been doing to go from Mongolian horses to Sydney.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge contrast.
Yeah.
Was there a big, like, I've always found like you go away and you come home and you get that post trip, like not depression or blues, but like what is it like going adventuring and stuff and then going back to Sydney? That would have been brutal for some people.
Well, we had the van, which was a bit of a savior. It's just, I don't know how to describe it, but it just wasn't. Definitely for Chloe, she was living in the Blue Mountains.
Okay.
But it just wasn't us. It's not me. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's probably the easiest house move ever from New South Wales to Tassie for you.
Yeah.
Just quick drive down.
Yeah, quick drive down. Yeah, we popped down there, but then we ended up renting a place when we got down there.
Okay.
Really epic off-grid home on 10 acres.
Oh, really?
15 minutes, and like stuff. Above the city.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing spot actually. Ridgeway.
Are you still around that area now or you just didn't know
a bit further south.
Okay.
Yeah. We're near the where the Notion Jam.
Yeah, cool.
We're just like same suburb as that actually, where we live.
Sick.
Yeah. So we own a little 3-bedroom cottage on 20 acres.
Yeah.
South of Hobart.
We'll have to get you out there for that.
I know. I was on and I didn't contact anyone to see. I know where it is.
Yeah.
I've driven past a lot just to sit there and look at the jumps. They're just like huge. But I don't know. Just didn't. It was after Hardline and just didn't end up contacting anyone to get out there and check it out. But
no, we'll make
next year if it's on or something, I'll have to come out.
100% on. Well,
it's just down the road.
Yeah. I'll message Stu.
Yeah,
cool. And Baxter, and we'll get it because I'll be down there shooting next year.
Yeah, sick.
For sure. Got the invite, so yeah, we'll be down there.
Hopefully it's as good as weather as it was this year.
Yeah, well, you can't. It's Tassie. Like, it's 4 seasons in a day sometimes.
Yeah. Nah, cool. Yeah, I'll have to come down and I'll get in the bike to get over there, but I don't think I'll be hitting anything. But
no, definitely. I think they're doing a spectator. Might have to cut this out, but I think they're doing a spectator thing next year, like a spectator day, which will be sick. Yeah,
epic.
But either way, we'll get you in.
Yeah, cool.
When did biking come into the picture?
Mountain biking.
Yeah. So apparently a mountain bike podcast.
Yeah. It's always something I wanted to do and I just was never around it. I didn't have any friends that really did it growing up. And then moving to Tassie and then obviously Tassie.
Yeah.
Everyone knows, probably this listening knows what the trail networks are like down there. And then, ended up being one of those COVID riders. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Started getting into it. I was like, okay, I'm in Tassie. What can I do? And it was like climbing and mountain biking. I feel like they go really well together in a place like that.
Oh, 100%.
And then bought a bike, got a Norco site with a tax return. and then just like, yeah, addictive personality.
Yeah.
So just went head first.
Straight into it.
Straight into it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it's just, there's such good riding down there. And then, yeah, I was kind of had a nickname of like the cat. I kind of had 9 lives.
Yeah. Okay.
would hit things maybe a bit above my pay grade, but always would roll out of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a mountain bike accident when I broke my neck on my property. We were kind of digging in these trails that were already there on the property. Yep. The first day doing that. Yep. And just, it was just really spongy ground. You really had to fight to pick up speed. And then there was kind of the second double of the line and just didn't, I just tried to hit it a bit too, I was trying to pick up speed because I wanted to clear it a bit more and just hucked a bit too hard and kind of dead sailed and came over the front and squished, like landed on the front wheel and that kind of like compressed the forks. And then as I kept going over, then it like shot me out. Yeah. And then just like kind of was curled over and then landed directly on my neck. Missed my head, missed everything else. Just kind of felt the crunch and then ended up on the ground and I was like riding with a couple of mates. Like, are you right? I'm like, no, don't think so.
Shit.
So that was what I thought maybe my mountain biking career was coming to an end. Lying there, but I knew like as I hit, I knew immediately that it was like something wasn't right. Like I've been injured a lot in my life, and I was like, this one's different.
Was it kind of weird that you've done all this rock climbing, like you've done all this stuff, and then riding your bike in your backyard? Yeah, is where you injured yourself the most.
I was like, oh bugger, oh well. No, it was. If you ask my partner, it was probably. And a lot of people close to me in my life, it was probably bound to happen. Okay. Something was bound to happen at some point. Yeah. It just happened to be mountain biking in my backyard. Yeah.
So you kind of knew instantly, like as soon as you hit, like I've heard of people like hearing it go in the neck, but like, I guess where did you break and like, did you know like how bad it was straight away or?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, all the impact kind of went through pretty much one spot and it's like, I fractured my C4, 5 and 6 vertebra. Shit. And then most of my injury to the spinal cord happened kind of around the C5, C6 area. So functionally, I have my score that they give you of a C5 Asia B is my injury. Okay. Which kind of, most of I have full function at the C5 level. And then Asia B means a complete injury would be an Asia A, so complete reception. So I'm like a step down from that Asia B. So I have there's some connections going through the spinal cord. So I have like sensation. It's altered, but I have touch sensation for most parts of my body. I can't feel pain or heat or temperature, but I can feel like soft touch. Okay. So that's been one benefit. I have in the C6 level, I have most of my muscles functioning. Okay, cool. Which is like wrist extensors and other parts of the forearms. But
you don't want to go much higher than like a 5 or a 6. Like like that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. There's higher than that. You can't like be pushing a manual wheelchair or definitely can't be riding a bowhead. None of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm at the cusp. I think functionally. Anything less and it'd be pretty hard. It'd be pretty hard to ride a bowhead, I think.
I don't want to go like too deep or dark or anything, but like, what was it like being on the ground or like injured and stuff and you're sitting there and you're just like, fuck, like you've gone from all this exploration and doing all that gnarly, like living your life. Probably most people's like dream lives, and then that happens and you find out. Like, was that a big hit for you, or like were you instantly thinking about how do I live that life with what I've got happen to me?
I guess in the moment, like bang, hit the ground, felt the crunch, and was like, okay, this is serious.
Yeah.
And then like obviously feeling like the sensation leave my body from my toes, it kind of started and coming up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for me, that's how it kind of went down. I hit and I was like, okay, something's definitely wrong. This is like my life. In that moment, I was like, my life's changed.
Yeah, right.
It definitely has. And then, yeah, the sensation kind of swarming up through my body, and then, yeah, obviously not being able to move. And at that point, I think all I could do once they got me to hospital and everything, I think all I could do was like shrug my shoulders.
Yeah.
I didn't have, all the other function in my arms and everything. Getting through all the hospital kind of phase, and then I was flown to Melbourne, and I was in the ICU in Melbourne, and one of the doctors came down and they have the serious chat with you and explain what your injury is and what's happened. And but for me in that moment, it was a really positive experience, and it was like something that's like really resonated with me through and helped me, I guess, understand my injury or just like accept it. I guess it was in having the moment, the chat with the doctor, and he was just like, he just explained to me that, people with the level of injury that I have, like, it's your life's not over. Like, you can live a very fulfilling life. There's still so much left to do, and as long as you like, don't let it get you. Like, as long as you give as much back to your life as you were, like, you'll be fine. You'll be living such a fulfilling life. Like, don't worry about it, kind of thing. And that just like stuck with me. I was like, okay, it's like different life, different body, but it's like it'll all be okay. It'll all be okay.
Yeah,
I guess essentially.
It's way better than when they come in and say, "Oh, you're just never going to walk again." Or
Yeah,
like that negative. I know why some doctors do it.
Yeah,
and what the like psychological thing is. Like, if you say that to some people, especially dudes, we'll go, fuck that. I'm going to go walk.
Yeah,
again.
what do you mean? No, I can walk. Yeah.
Where to have that positivity for you must have been huge.
Yeah, like I've heard so many negative stories within the community of just this negative side to the health system or to doctors, and the specific that one chat when they come down and you're not going to walk again.
Yeah,
and like I guess I never asked the question because I understood like it was a serious injury, and so I was like, well, they're just going off statistics anyway. Like, if I ask him, he's just going to say something that may or not be true because they're just judging you on a score that they score your injury, I guess, kind of thing. So I never asked because I didn't think it was an important question. And instead he gave me that kind of feedback, and it was like, wow, that's like, it was just so positive, and it really stuck with me. And that just the acceptance of my injury in that moment as well was huge for him to say that. Yeah.
Does that help you accept what has happened, like what he said in some ways? Because I guess for some people they'll be like, nah, I'll get
life's
better.
over. Yeah.
Or that, or they don't. Some people are like, no, I'm fine. Like, it'll heal.
Yeah.
And they'll keep thinking that and progress on that healing path. Whereas sometimes it's better just to know that's what life's like now. Like,
I guess a bit of that.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been in that position. So it's such a weird thing to kind of talk about for me in some ways, because you've never been in that position. Like, you never know how you're going to react. And you see so many people react differently.
Different reactions. Yeah. I think knowledge is power.
100%.
And I feel like sometimes the hospital system can maybe not deliver the information or the right information or help you understand that. And my partner really helped, Chloe, really helped me understand like when they give you a C5 A to B, like what that means, what my injury is. And then I think just the knowledge of that just really helped me accept my injury. It's like, okay, this is like the score I've got and people with this score, and this is like, they're just all statistics, and
Kind of gives you a foundation to build on.
Yeah,
right?
you're like, okay, this is where I'm at, and like obviously, like some people have miraculous like full recoveries.
Yeah.
And that's amazing, but a lot of us like don't.
No.
And you just kind of, yeah. And for me at that stage, it was, before my surgery, all I could do was shrug my shoulders, and I woke up past the surgery and I had a bit of wrist movement and I had good bicep movement.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, sweet. And I've like regained something from like nothing to at least something. And then throughout the whole rehab process of like, learning to move my arms again, essentially, because I couldn't even touch my face or anything. But it was always like, I've got these muscles, like, what can I do? It was never what I can't do. It was always like, what can I do?
Yeah.
And always just moving forward, like with what I had and being stoked about any little thing that was more than nothing, you know? I don't know.
Well, that's just like that step forward, right? Like if you can do it, then you're going to step forward and you're going to keep building on what you can do. What was the rehab like? Because I've heard different stories, but rehab's pretty hard from what I've seen for a lot of, like, pretty physical. Like it looks really hard. How long were you in that rehab kind of program and building up?
So I had the accident in Hobart, surgery in Hobart. 3 days later, I was flown to Melbourne, finished my ICU in Melbourne for a few weeks. And this is all through COVID as well. So there was no visitors, like code red. All that jazz, all that fun. So not having friends or family or anyone be able to come and see you. So then we eventually asked to be flown to Sydney because that's where my family and everything were for support. And there was no COVID there at the time.
Okay.
At that point in time, so the hospitals were open. So I got flown to Sydney. This is probably 3 weeks after my accident. And then I was in hospital in Sydney for 3.5 months while waiting to get to rehab because there's just such a long wait list to get to rehab. And then I was at rehab in Ryde, the Royal Ryde, for another 4.5 months, I think it was.
It's essentially like living away from home and just rehabbing by yourself for like 7 months. Like that's almost like a year, right? Like, that's huge.
Once I got to rehab, the COVID restrictions were a bit more lax, and I could have visitors. And I was allowed day passes and stuff when I was there. But most of like hospital stay was just the people you're in there with, and I made some really epic mates while I was in there. We're all kind of in the same thing, but it was like a long drawn out process, the whole thing, 9.5 months or something. And we had to obviously from Hobart, so Chloe had to like get the house ready and put it up for rent and fly the dog to Sydney and then fly herself up. And then we were living in Sydney again for another 6 months post rehab, something like that, before moving back to Tassie. Once we were all like ready and settled and set, and then we moved back to Tas.
Kind of knew what you needed as well, and like So
that was February last year we moved back.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Was that kind of hard for you in the way like you've gone from that living in a van, nomadic stuff, and now you kind of have to have a central spot in some ways? Like,
it was. But early on, it was like there's people living in vans still. Van life in a chair is still a thing. So we were like, okay, how do we make it happen? And my good mates did a GoFundMe initially straight away, and with that money, we purchased the Volkswagen Crafter, like long wheelbase, 4Motion. And then there was a big fundraiser at my local town where I grew up, at the pub there. The community put on a big fundraiser for us.
That's rad.
Yeah. So then with that money, we're going to use it to fit out the van for a camper setup. So then we, because the world's not accessible, but if you have your own little accessible thing that, like a turtle, and you can move around and you can get out to the bush and you can stay at a mate's house very easily, and you have your accessible part of the world that you can take anywhere with you. And that opens up a lot of the outdoors and just a lot more spontaneity and freedom, I guess. And we're still working towards finishing it off. It's just getting some driving controls put in it at the moment so I can drive it. But hopefully, in the next few months I'll have that back and get my license back and we can fit it out, and then get back to a bit of van life and a bit of that old life, I guess, that we used to have.
so
Yeah.
sick. Yeah. I can't wait to see the stuff in that and Valli Adventures for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, boom, in the back under the bed. Yeah.
I was about to ask, when did you get that? Like, when did that come into your life?
Yeah. Social media was awesome through the recovery stages and everything at rehab and hospital.
Yeah.
And they've been out for like 5 years or something. But yeah, initially just like using social media to find these things like the bowhead and people doing all this amazing stuff. And that's how we kind of found out about the bikes. And knowing that they were out there and that, they're just amazing machines. But then, after I left rehab, about 3 months after that, contacted Grant, and he helped me out, and we got a bowhead 3 months later. I got the bowhead, and knowing that it was going to be a really steep learning curve. Yeah, okay. Trying to ride it, which has been pretty tricky, but we're getting there.
Was that your kind of first interaction and knowledge of Grant? Was like at that point, or?
How did I come across it? I think it was through Push. It's Push Mobility was how I kind of came across him, and then just seeing the stuff he was doing on his bike as well was just been amazing to watch. Yeah, amazing to be on the sidelines and observe. And he's just an awesome dude. Yeah,
but he is like one of those guys, like what you want to do with your business and what you are to a lot of people. But he's also one of those guys that like look at him and go, "Oh, you can do that." Like, there's nothing stopping you. He's a different, like, under his hair, he's got a hinge and he just takes his brain out and throws it in the back seat, and that's how he gets everything done. I've seen him do it. But like, he is like that guy that you look at and you go, fuck, he can do anything. Like, just put your mind to it. So to have him pushing bowhead and seeing and like motivating guys like you and other people to get him, it's pretty impressive. So it's going to be sick to see what you can do down in Tassie.
Yeah. Hopefully bring a bit of that in our own little island. Yeah.
But watching him ride and then watching you ride is amazing in two different ways. So I didn't know that how you rode until Grant explained it to me. And I was like, my brain can't handle that. Can you tell me how the controls kind of work on your bike to see if it is fully?
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't make sense in my head.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. There's a lot happening. But essentially, so I don't have any hand function, finger function.
Yeah.
So I use these gloves that they're called active hands, and they strap my hand together so it can grip onto the handlebar. So I've got them both on both my hands, and then.
So you're strapped in.
I'm strapped in. So you're strapped in around the torso, legs out in front, and strapped into the handlebars. So I'm completely strapped in.
Safety third.
Yeah. And then, so with my right hand, that's where the throttle is. So I strap it on slightly differently to my left. So I'm not actually gripping the handlebar. It's like on top of my thumbs on top of it. I don't know. So I can move the palm of my hand here onto the throttle.
So you're pushing.
Yeah, to be able to push down on the throttle. And then if I want to use my rear brake, I got to kind of slide my hand back up, push forward. There's a little bar which kind of goes. It's really cool. I pulled the handlebars apart and there's all this machinery happening inside it.
Yeah,
but
right.
There's a bar that comes up and then you can put your hand in it, and I use my wrist to brake. That's my rear brake.
Yeah.
So I'm going between throttle and then rear brake with my wrist.
Yeah.
And then my left hand, it's kind of my safety, is the front brake. And that's a lot easier to use. And I just kind of am dropping my elbow essentially, which is hitting the bar and locking on the front brake.
Because you're basically doing it all with your elbow position almost.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So it's like for the front brake, I'm just dropping my elbow in a certain way, and that's hitting the front brakes. And then my right hand is, kind of dropping my elbow a little bit to use the throttle with my right hand. Yeah.
and then you're riding as well. So you got the
Yeah, so that's just the controls. Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that's
and
what
then-
I thought of it, and I'm like, sick controls are easy.
Yeah.
And then I saw you ride, and I'm like, oh, he's got to do all the other stuff
Yeah.
as well. Like that's what, because you got the articulation, right?
Yeah. So then you pull the pin out, and then I'm strapped in. I don't have any tricep function or hand functions. I'm strapped in my hands, no triceps. So I'm essentially, or any core. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm essentially just riding it with my shoulders and my biceps, and having to balance. But yeah, it's hard, but it's good. But yeah, it's kind of just throwing the bike left and right with my shoulders and my biceps essentially.
Yeah.
Pretty much all that's going on. And my head. And my head.
Yeah. But they're not easy to move. Like
No.
I've taken the pin out of one
Yeah.
with it sitting there, and then it just goes like flops down. Like they're hard to move around.
Yeah.
Is yours adapted more in any way to kind of be easier to articulate?
Yeah. So I have a couple of things going on within the articulation. I have there's like lockout straps.
Yeah.
And I have them set up. So with the articulation, I have them get to a certain spot, and then I have them lock so that just before if I'm sitting on the flat and I lean the bike over, just before it would tip and fall over, I have them so it locks.
Yeah.
So I can't use all of the articulation, but it means I won't fall over maybe as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've started and rode for about a year with there's like bungee cords that are attached to it as well. So that would mean that when you did articulate, the bungee cords would help bring you back upright.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of like training wheels. I didn't realize how restricting they actually were until I took them off 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And was like, because you'd be articulating or leaning over some off camber sections, and then it would want to spring back upright, which would mean it would want to push you over and tip you over. It was working against you. And then I took them off, and now it's but you definitely need them to start with, I think, for me anyway. And just like training wheels, once you get to a certain skill, then you take them off, and then it's suddenly so many more trails have opened up to me. And I wish I didn't have the straps on for Nats, but next year we'll see how we go. My time should increase a lot, I think, next
100%.
year. Yeah.
And then you've got the roll bar as well,
And
which
then
I
the
think
roll
is the
bar.
sickest thing ever.
I'm on the ground a lot. Well, at least initially on the ground a lot, but not as much as I used to be.
The roll bar is so good for the people helping you and getting that chair back up. I had to pick someone up out of a berm, and he didn't have that on.
Yeah.
And it was near impossible.
No.
He was a big dude too. And like, I was hanging off him, and we could not get the thing out. Yeah.
No, the roll bar's handy. You just like lift it up, push it back up, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What was your first ride, and like, what was the sensation of getting in that thing like for you? Like,
No, it was mixed emotions, I think.
okay. Frustration.
Yeah. Mostly frustration and a bit of like regret, like, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah. Okay.
It was like, I bought it kind of on a whim, the bike. There's not many people in the world with my level of function riding these things.
Mhm.
So trying to gather information of like, can it be ridden? Like, is it possible? Was the first thing. And then I messaged a guy on Instagram, and he's like, yeah, it's possible. It just like, be prepared. It takes a long time. It take a long time to get it. But once you do get it, you get it. It's right. You can ride them. It's sweet. I was like, okay, it's cool. Phone Grant, like, book me one, get me one.
Yeah, sick.
And then it came, and then it was like, okay, I had all that in my mind. Like, it's going to be really difficult, and it'll only get easier. But the first ride, like, went down to just the oval with my mum, dad, and Chloe, and got into the bike, and was riding around. They're an epic things. Like, they're so fun. And I just was zooming around the oval with the pin in, and it was all good. And then pulled the pin out, and it was just like trying to ride it. It was just
hard.
It was so hard. I was just failing. So after that first initial ride at the oval, I felt, a bit defeated. I'm like, oh gosh, what have I done? This is. I think I've just wasted 35 grand or how much they cost you. I was like, oh no, what have I done? But it was just so cool to be back in a mountain bike, I guess, as well. And I was like, okay, well, if I don't get to ride trails, at least like I can use it as a power chair and get to some cool places in the bush. And in the first few months, it's like was really awesome for that. It was really awesome to get out and use it to get into places where I can't take this chair. And but then learning to ride a few trails and things was also like a really epic part of the journey, the recovery journey, I guess. Was finding that stoke again of like, it was until I got the bowhead, it was just hard to get that feeling, just that that stoked feeling of doing something that is adrenaline and moving your body and being out in nature and just like all that together. It was just I found it hard to find that.
It's hard to get a dopamine hit.
Yeah. But then getting the bowhead was like, okay, this is it. This is epic.
Mildly stupid, but if you do it right, it's all good.
Yeah. And that really, helped me in my mindset and everything. Coming out of rehab. Yeah, for sure.
And then you've just got more and more confident with it, and now you hit more trails. And you ride Medina. Yeah. Where else can you ride in Tassie on one? Like, is it Derby? I guess would have a couple of trails, maybe.
Yeah, I need to get back up there. Okay. I went there kind of this time last year. Okay. So I've progressed a lot as a rider in that time. And there was a couple of trails I could ride, but there's definitely more I could be riding up there now. There's a new trail centre at a network up at Georgetown, like north of Launceston. Yep. And that, haven't been there yet, but that I've watched a lot of YouTube clips and it looks like some pretty good riding on a bowhead. Sick. Then there's Medina. Of course. There's some local trails which are all right. Okay. Like, there's one trail at Glenorchy Bike Park, which is kind of feels a bit like what I rode today at Valli Hoel. Yep. Kind of like easy as, but not as long. And yes, kind of similar to that. Sick. There's another, there's just a few trails in a few different bike parks around Hobart. But Medina is very bowhead friendly. Yeah. There was one thing I forgot to ask about as well in the riding thing, but you mentioned that you've got that spinal injury in your neck, which just doesn't have feeling, which means your brain doesn't know that your body's overheating. Yeah. You don't sweat at all. No. Which is very dangerous. How's that kind of like, I saw the guy squirting you with the bottle at Nats. I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah. And then the old Milwaukee portable fan comes out of the Prezzo. So I'm like, okay. And then I was chatting to Grant and he kind of explained it all. Can you let us know like how that kind of works? Are you getting sprayed with water like the whole time you're riding or? Yeah. It was hot. Yeah, it was very hot. So where my level of injury is, it's cut off parts of my body. So I don't, temperature regulation is really hard. So I can't shiver to warm up and I can't sweat to cool down. Yeah. And I have a pretty good gray area of where I'm pretty comfortable. But as soon as I'm out of that gray area, I'm too hot or too cold. It takes a long time to get back to where I'm comfortable. Nats, it was like in the 30s and I'm from Tassie, so it's like it doesn't get that hot that often. So it was pretty hard. And then that was definitely like at my threshold, if not just above, where I can like function well. But otherwise, if I get especially too hot, I just get really lethargic, really tired. Yeah. Everything gets really hard. So a way of helping cool down was with just getting sprayed water to act as sweat on my body. And then for the cross-country race, I borrowed a friend's ice vest. Okay. So it's just a vest that went under my shirt that was filled with ice. So when you're riding, it like cools your body down essentially. Yeah,
because I was wondering how you managed to get through that without getting sprayed the whole time. No,
it was in the morning. So it was before the heat of the day. And I hadn't had the whole day to like my core temperature to slowly be rising. So it was still in the morning when it was quite low. And then, the ice vest helped a lot.
Yeah.
And then getting sprayed from, Max and Till as I was riding around.
Good.
Yeah.
It was definitely something to watch. That was for sure. Like their skills of riding with you and not hindering the ride at all. Like if you know what I mean, like that. You were going the same pace and enjoying the ride, and the way they were rotating or like swapping around and doing everything, it was so sick to watch.
Yeah, they did a good job. Yeah, no, they're awesome. They're awesome to ride with.
So is there like you just said you just feel lethargic? Is there like a physical thing when you're getting too hot or too cold? Like is it just?
No. So getting too hot, you'd be able to physically see me. I'm just like just drained. You just slowly get hot, but then getting cold, it kind of less visual. I guess I just sort of start to maybe get a bit of a jaw start to shake a little bit, and then I'll find it hard to like hold a conversation.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, just like they'll probably look a bit sad.
That's a big thing to adapt to. Like I think. Again, I mentioned this in Grant's potty and stuff, but like it's those little things outside of what people see that is so hard to kind of get used to, like and build on. Like
there's a whole iceberg beneath the wheelchair,
isn't it? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, things like pressure and skin health, and all the rest of it, bowels, bladder, temperature regulation, lots of things.
Everything that you kind of take for granted for a little bit, it's just become a million times harder.
Yeah. A lot to learn.
And then you throw on mountain biking on top of that. And it's like, make it even harder. What are your kind of dream spots to kind of ride? Once you get this van set up, like what's your plans from there? Like,
well, because we're flying the bikes up. So we really want to stop at, I think, hopefully by then the trails at Mogo, some of them will be open.
Sick.
I know they're doing a really good job of trying to make like all-inclusive trails kind of for everyone. So that'd be really cool to stop in there. And then there was another trail centre a bit further south. I can't remember the name of it. It looked like there's some cool trails there to ride. And then really want to stop in at Bright.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's the right time of year. July, August.
It might be pretty cold.
So we might have to give that one a miss. But definitely really want to get back in the summer to check out Bright.
I think it's pretty cool because Frenchie from Medina is going to be all that.
Elevation Parks or something. Yeah, I saw
they're
that.
going to be running it. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like, what was it? Shred Kelly, which is what we rode with Renee and Grant.
Yeah.
It's going to be perfect.
Yeah,
like,
cool.
It's real open, wide, dead flat, like plenty of jumps, but even the berms are like nice. Like they're not real steep. So it's perfect for the bowhead.
Yeah, sick. I have to check it out.
Yeah, 100%.
But I really wanted to get here to Adelaide to check out the trails. 'Cause, Grant and Renee are always posting cool stuff. So I really wanted to come here and check out. I know Halloran Hill today was really fun.
Yeah.
For me, it was kind of my the limit, I guess the difficulty limit for me at the moment. Riding easy as and Grom Flow. Yeah. And they were that was really fun. And then hopefully tomorrow I'm going to check out Fox Creek.
Yeah. I think it'll be good. I think Orange Rip will be sick for sure. Even if it's just a short run. Yeah. It'll be mint for you for sure. Or even if you went on a cross country loop or something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I know they're building 2 brand new adapted friendly green and a blue trail or something. Yeah. I was hoping I was like fingers crossed they were going to be open and I could come and like suss them out. But
right, we'll still be here.
Yeah, next time.
What is like the ideal trail for you and the bike? Because again, adaptive riding like goes from you to your level to Grant's level, which is different injuries, different skills, different everything. What's the ideal track for you and your bike kind of thing? Is it that kind of smoother stuff or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I find like today I found the trails quite techy in spots. And for me, not having any hand function, and not like really, being able to grip the handlebars, it just rattles me around a lot, and it gets quite tricky. It was like a perfect level today of like amount of rockiness and tech stuff, but definitely a more just big, fast, open flow trail, like dirt surfer. Is my ideal, for sure. But like, I'm trying to branch out and try everything that's out there. I guess if I can get my bike down it, then it's a plus.
Yeah.
But I guess there's just like going back to that. It's like the level of injury, like comparing Grant and I. But then there's also we both ride bowheads, but other adapted bikes is suddenly the trails you're trying to ride is suddenly even there's less to choose from, I guess. And the bowheads just really open up a whole bunch of other kind of trails, which is pretty epic.
They're completely different to some of the other trikes, like the other. I can't remember the one where the front with the single wheels out the front. Yeah. And they're so much wider.
The lasher, and then there's like the sport-ons, and they're just very different.
Yeah, they all work, but like that, just if they're wider, they need that different trail for sure. Sick. So you're just planning on the business, you're doing the travels, you're going to be doing all that for the rest of the year and stuff?
I think so.
Oh, and rugby nationals.
Wheelchair rugby,
Which is cool because I didn't know that you played rugby when you were a junior. Yeah. So now you come full circle and you're playing wheelchair rugby.
It's a bit of a funny one, that.
Yeah. I mean, not to be rude, but you don't have to worry about another knee recon.
Yeah, I know.
That's perfect, right?
I can come out of retirement for that. I think I did a post on Instagram in coming out of retirement for this comp.
Sick.
Which is cool. But here in Adelaide, the national comp.
Yeah.
Which is over the weekend, which is pretty cool. So
it's going to be wild. A few people down for it?
Yeah. There's, I don't know, 8 teams or something maybe.
Yeah, right.
2 divisions, 8 teams, and there's, how many players to a team? There's probably 10 or something to each team, something like that.
Yeah, sick. So at least 60, 70 people plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm definitely going to have to come down and check it out.
Yeah, you have to check it out. It's a cool sport. It's physical and fast paced. It's just really fun. It's a really fun game to play.
Cool. Which is odd for me. Like I've done this so many times. Might start wrapping it up then.
Yeah, man.
A little bit. Got a few questions I kind of like to end with. So 3 main ones. First one is, what advice would you give to someone that's found themselves in that position where they've gone from able-bodied to becoming a chair user? And I guess because you're doing it so well in my eyes, but like making the most out of that situation, like what advice would you have for those people?
Be finding the things that you still can do, or how the things that you love to do, and how can you adapt to still incorporate those things into your life. Yeah, for sure. Like if you can, just try and bring your old life into your new life and adapt it all, and just find a new path. For me has been huge, I think.
Usually I ask, what do you regret in life and stuff? I'm going to change it a little bit. Is there anything you would have done differently in your rehab and getting back to where you are now?
Nah. Wish I got the bowhead sooner.
Wish you didn't do it in COVID.
Wish I didn't. Regret breaking my neck through COVID. That was silly. Why would you do that? No. I think my journey through all of that has, I wouldn't have changed anything. Yeah. It's just been, initially it was all very therapy based. It was just, obviously, which for everyone, and trying just to get the most out of your therapy and try and recover as much as you can. Yeah. And then kind of leaving rehab and getting the bike and then moving to Tas, it just like flipped and was, now it's not about therapy anymore. It's how can I be better and stronger to ride my bike? Yeah. Pretty much. That's sick. Yeah. It all revolves around the bike and the wheelchair rugby, and then the rest, all the other therapy stuff comes, but life isn't focused on that. It's focused on living your best life, I guess. Yeah.
Last question, always the hardest for some people, but if you're perhaps not feeling motivated, I'm not sure this applies because it seems like you're pretty motivated all the time, but that's cold and you don't want to do something, or like you're just not ready to do something. Is there something you do to get motivated? Like, do you listen to any music, or is there anything you kind of do to get amped up? Or just permanently just ready to
No. Like there's middle of winter in Tassie is pretty hard to.
That's enough.
Hard to want to go out
even
riding.
David Goggins would struggle down there in the
Yeah,
winter.
you're like, all right, I'm supposed to be going out riding today, and I really don't want to. It's cold and wet. No, I'm definitely unmotivated at times. How do I motivate myself? I normally keep myself, get someone to keep myself accountable. So I have to go riding with a support rider.
True.
So if they're booked in, it's like, all right, well, they're coming to pick me up, but I guess we'll just get in the van and go and see if the weather's better. And otherwise, just like knowing that if I get out and go for that ride, I'm going to be better at riding.
True. Well, there's never a bad ride.
Yeah, there's never a bad ride.
Yeah. Well, easy, man. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's been real cool to listen to your story, and we were talking before. It's cool to learn these new things as we go.
Yeah.
It's so rad to hear your story. And thank you.
Cool, legend. Thank you.
Easy. I'm going to go book my trip to Mongolia now and get on those horses.
Get on those horses, yeah.
For sure.
Make it